From the large open spaces of Central Park in New York to the wide boulevards of Paris, pandemics have always shaped cities. Like the outbreaks of cholera and plague that transformed those capitals, COVID-19 is changing the world's urban areas again, as well as the way people live in them, or not. In a 2020 survey, over 2/3 of respondents in London, New York and San Francisco said the pandemic accelerated their decision to move out of the city.
London and New York are feeling quite a bit of pain. There was an existing underlying trend now for over a decade of people moving outside of cities, and that is mainly based on affordability and the need for space. That trend has merely accelerated during the pandemic.
The pandemic has had a huge impact on cities in the short term. It's caused a lot of people to reassess long-held elements of their living and working preferences, and it's changed patterns of behaviour. A lot of people look at living situations in more suburban and rural locations.
They're also looking at smaller cities, which offer the perks of urban living, but at a lower cost.
The largest key cities globally have become very unaffordable, and therefore young talent has tended to move to these second-tier key gateway cities. Berlin was seen as a second-tier city, and today it really is in the top-tier key cities globally. What it took was young international talent coming into the city, mainly driven by its affordability, and then companies following because they need to be where the talent is. If you're a tech professional between 20 and 35, your number one choice in the UK is Manchester.
When we talk about Manchester, and particularly when we talk about employment growth, you can't talk about it without mentioning the tech scene. We recently named it as one of our rising tech contenders, one of only 8 across the world. A huge reason why Manchester's really been put on the map. In terms of why people are moving there, you've got a number of reasons, both from a company and an employee point of view. It's more affordable, it's very livable, leisure amenities, diverse range of housing. But I think from a company point of view, one of the real drivers is this really deep, diverse range of talent. Second point is infrastructure. So Manchester already has a comparatively good range of public infrastructure, but it needs to continue investing in those so it doesn't become a push factor for companies. And the third is sustainability. Manchester have set a target to become carbon neutral by 2038, 12 years ahead of the national target. This should be a really important selling point for the city.
It's not just Manchester that needs to adapt to remain attractive. The pandemic is an opportunity for all cities to build back better.
Real estate does have a true opportunity coming out of this pandemic. We've been responsible for 40% of all carbon emissions. This is an opportunity truly for us to change gears and really focus on how we create this better environment and better cities going forward.
Cities have a bright future ahead. Urbanisation will ultimately outlive the pandemic. Those cities that are going to meet the requirements of resilience, of sustainability, of livability and affordability are really going to be those that outperform over the long term.
Over centuries, we've seen cities survive and thrive because they've evolved to adapt to change, and we now need them to adapt to the changes that have been brought about by the pandemic, by becoming greener, more livable and more affordable.
We really have to reimagine spaces going forward. And I think if we do that well, then actually coming back to larger cities will be more of a pleasure than people expect.